Welcome everyone to today's Marketing Bootcamp. My name is Matt Baer. I'm the founder of Q4Launch, and we are excited you guys are along for the ride with us today as we dive into Google 2020, what to expect and how to make sure you're ready. We're going to take a look into our crystal ball today, try to predict the future a little bit, and talk about what's coming up from Google in 2020, or what do we believe is coming up from Google in 2020. So we have a lot of data on this. We have a lot of our team that studies this on a regular basis. So we're going to kind of bring to you our findings today. If this is your first marketing bootcamp with us, or maybe first time joining us at Q4Launch, we're excited you guys are here with us today. Welcome to today's bootcamp. As I mentioned, my name is Matt Baer. I'm the founder of Q4Launch. We are a destination marketing organization based in Charleston, South Carolina. We have a team of 50 working out of our office here, moving into a new office in the month of December. So excited about that here at Q4Launch. I'm sure we'll be sharing that with many of our followers via social media. So connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, but excited you guys are along for the ride with us as we dive into marketing. We teach this webinar series, these boot camps, just to give back to the industry and educate the industry on what we see happening in the marketing world. So to teach those of you who are trying to do it yourselves, those of you who may be working with another agency, to just kind of have an understanding of what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on in the marketing world that we see, and bring this education to you. So hopefully you find it valuable. Hopefully you get some great ideas to apply into your marketing for 2020 as you're working on developing that marketing plan here at the end of the year. So with that, let's dive in. Let's talk first about our upcoming marketing boot camps, the remaining boot camps in this 6-part series that we're doing to help you be prepared for 2020. So next week, well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving this week, everybody. We're going to be off at Q4Launch Thursday and Friday celebrating Thanksgiving with our families. I hope you all are able to take a little bit of time off as well. I know it's a busy time for the hospitality industry. Find some time and enjoy that special time with friends and family, really focusing on the many, many things we have to be thankful for and the opportunity to express gratitude to the people in our lives that are part of that. So I hope that for you guys this week, that you have that time to set aside and do that and focus on those things you're grateful for. But after this week, we're going to be diving straight back into our Marketing Bootcamp series, December 3rd, bringing you a very important bootcamp you won't want to miss on pay-per-click advertising. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but we're going to go deep in a whole bootcamp session on that next week. And then December 10th, 5 tips for revenue-generating email marketing. We see some of the highest return on investment from all marketing investments in the email marketing category, so you won't want to miss that. Some things we've been learning this year and implementing for our customers. And then how to use Google Analytics to measure success. So up to this point, up to December 17th, we're going to be teaching you how to build a plan. We've already taught you that. How to build a great website. We've already taught you that. Now we're teaching you how to execute on some of those individual marketing strategies to make 2020 the best year ever. That last webinar, December 17th, can be very important because as you go about executing these things, you're either investing time or money. Those are the 2 resources we have as business owners and marketing people, time and money. How are you going to measure that success? And you really need to make sure you have a plan for that. And in December 17th webinar, that's what we're going to teach you. So make sure you register for those if you haven't already. Go to the Marketing Bootcamp page on our website. That URL is available for you on the bottom of the screen right now. Check that out. Or share that with a friend. You probably have friends in the industry that could really benefit from this information as well. Do them a favor, forward them that URL, text it to them, Slack it to them, whatever communication, post it out on Facebook. Take a screenshot of my face and put a quotable on it. Generate your own Matt Baer meme if you want to poke some fun at it. It wouldn't be the first time our staff has done that, that's for sure. You create your own Matt Baer meme with something quotable from today and share that out on social media and tag us. We'd love to see that. So make sure you register and share for the upcoming marketing boot camps to help share this education with our industry that is so in need of great education right now. So do that. All right, let's dive in now as we talk about Google 2020. Let's set the stage first with why does this even matter? It's an important question, but I think that this part of our marketing bootcamp probably matters maybe more than any other marketing bootcamp we're going to do in this series. And the reason being, our customers see about 40% of their traffic comes from Google organic search. So Google organic search. You might see more, you might see less, but 40% is a target that we have. If we're seeing more, it means our other parts of our marketing strategy aren't working as well as they probably should be, and we need to grow traffic there. If we see less, it probably means that our Google search strategy is not working the way it should be, and we need to lean into that. But 40% is a good target for that, so that's what I would encourage you all to work towards. But 50% of their direct bookings come from it. So 40% of traffic to the website, 50% of direct bookings when we measure that in e-commerce tracking inside of Google Analytics is coming from this source. So everything else we're going to teach you, all other traffic sources combine to equal the other 50% of our direct bookings. This one equals 50%. So the importance of it is literally half of your direct bookings. It should be half of your direct booking, your direct marketing strategy. Now, I'm not saying it should be half of your budget, so don't take that and extrapolate into that. It's not, but it should be probably the most significant part of your budget, the most significant thing you're paying attention to. And we have seen tremendous change in 2019, and we expect to see even more change in 2020. Actually, about a year ago today, I think it was November 22nd, so a few days ago today, we did I think it was a webinar or a blog, I can't remember which we did, but about the Google hotel search results design that rolled out about a year ago. Fast forward, we saw that hit the vacation rental industry over the course of spring and summer this year. We're going to talk about that in our session today. But what is that going to mean? What are the implications of that for 2020? It's an important thing for us to dive into. But this is so foundational to your success in 2020 and so critical to your revenue strategy and where are our bookings going to be coming from. We also know from a recent Google study that Google Travel released that the average traveler has 850 digital touch points on their travel journey. So as they move throughout this journey of planning, dreaming, planning, and booking a trip, and actually experiencing a trip, that was part of the study as well, but they have 850 digital touch points, which includes over 150 Google searches to plan the average vacation and spans a course of about 3 months. So it's a really complicated process that a user goes through when they're booking their vacation, and something we need to better understand how to intersect them at all points of that. And we talk a lot at Q4Launch about the 5 stages of travel and how to build strategies to intersect people at the different stages of travel that they're in. And we're going to lean into that a little bit today, as well as in the following marketing boot camps. And then lastly, it keeps getting harder. So why is this important? Because it keeps getting harder. It keeps getting harder to succeed in this space. So much so that some marketers are saying SEO is dead and it can't be done anymore. We're finding that to not be true. We're just seeing that the strategy has to evolve. As the medium, as Google is evolving, our strategy has to evolve as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today. But don't give up and say, well, I just can't do it. It keeps getting harder. It's not possible anymore. We absolutely see it is possible. It's just getting harder and getting different. So we have to lean into it on a regular basis. All right, so let's look at this a little bit. And while we're often talking about things that are new and exciting, and that's what everybody wants to talk about, sometimes we just have to go back to the basics. Like, I grew up playing basketball, and it always drove me nuts how much time our coach made us spend practicing the fundamentals, doing free throw drills, doing dribbling drills, doing all the fundamentals of basketball. I wanted to work on trick plays and all that fun stuff that everybody wants to do and talk about. But he was right in knowing that the fundamentals were what was going to make us a great team. And in that same sense, we're going to talk about new things today and things we need to be thinking about. But the fundamentals or the basics of SEO is more important and will continue to be more important than probably everything else combined. And as we do search engine analyses and we do different audits for people and try to help them from a consulting perspective really develop their SEO presence, we often see people aren't even doing the basics right. So we want to cover that first and foremost. Let's do the basics right before we get distracted by what's shiny and new in the SEO world. Let's focus on those fundamentals before we work on our trick plays. So that in the first basics we want to focus on here, that relevance for the search query is always going to be the most important thing. Meaning, how relevant is your website, mostly put together by how relevant is the content and the sites that are linking back to it for whatever that search query is. So, I just came back from a ton of conferences, but one of them was in Las Vegas. And how relevant, if I'm a Las Vegas vacation rental manager, how relevant is my website for Las Vegas vacation rentals? Or how relevant am I for fill in the blank? Whatever the search query you're targeting, how relevant is your site for that query? And how are you building your content within your site to support your relevance for that? And everything we need to do trying to drive and grow that relevance. Prominence is also going to be very important. We're going to talk more in depth about that and some changes we're seeing there. But how popular is your site via different signals? One of those being reviews. How popular are you? Like, we all thought that the popularity, we got out of that when we left high school, right? Once the prom king and prom queen were voted and crowned, we could move on from the popularity contest. But Unfortunately, we can't. Like, there's still that popularity contest to a certain extent. So how popular is your site? What are all those social signals saying about your web presence? Like, more so than just how's your website built, how's your content, how popular are you? How popular are you on the web? Are you trending? Are you cool? Are people linking to you? Are they talking about you on social media? That will continue to be important. And then quality and depth of website content, as well as recency. One of the things we know about Google's algorithm is that recency is a big deal. Yet when we talk to vacation rental managers, hoteliers, innkeepers, most of them aren't updating their content on a regular basis. And I'm not saying you need to overhaul your content all the time. You don't, but you do need to make sure that it's relevant and that it's recent and that you're contributing fresh content to your website on a regular basis. And how are you doing that and doing that well is a really important part of your overall SEO strategy. So if I had you all in the room today and I asked for a show of hands, how many of us have updated our website content in the last 3 months? From doing that in the past, I would know probably 90% of the room would not raise their hand. And that's a problem. You need to be leaning into that and making sure that not just are other parts of your strategy relevant, up to date, but has your website content fresh, relevant, and up to date. And then lastly, links pointing back to your website. Backlinks have forever been a big SEO topic. They will continue to be an important part of your strategy in 2020. We believe something we're actually looking and leaning into more and more. And a big part of what our content strategy has helped us do over the years is attract inbound links to our customers. When we're creating great quality content about things happening in our marketplaces, on behalf of our customers, we earn backlinks by doing that. So that's part of what we're trying to accomplish there and part of what has driven our success. But will continue to be important in 2020. So just to drive that point home one more time, focus on the basics first. Get the basics right. Don't get distracted by shiny and new. Think about that analogy. Think about me as a middle schooler playing basketball and a high schooler. Focus on the basics first. Get back to the fundamentals. Do your wall sits until your legs shake so bad you're going to fall over. Do your dribbling drills. Shoot free throws till your fingers are calloused. Do those things. I'm revealing my Indiana heritage here, but do those things and you will have success in SEO in 2020. So if you're not doing the basics right, hit pause on the webinar, spend some time, or if you're watching us live, you can't hit pause, you're stuck with me. But journal that out, write some notes and go back to that. So, okay, let me make sure I'm doing my basics right. And if we can help at all with that, if you have questions on do I have my basics right, get in touch with us. Go to our website, Q4Launch.com, contact us. We'd be happy to help you take a quick high-level look at your site and help you understand, are you doing the basics right? And what are some action items that you need to take? So get in touch with us to help with that. We'd be happy to help you out. All right, so moving on from the basics, let's dive into some things we do know. If you followed our bootcamp or our webinar series on a regular basis, you know I talk a lot about economics. I'm a true data geek at heart, so economics is a huge part of that. There will be more competition than ever in 2020. The great news is there's more people traveling than ever, but honestly, the amount of people traveling is not growing as fast as the amount of inventory in most of our marketplaces or most of our destinations. So we've seen record growth as far as Airbnb bringing more and more listings online, more and more keys, more and more options for places for people to stay. They have essentially democratized hospitality. You don't have to own a hotel anymore to own a hotel room. You can rent out your spare bedroom and make money. And Airbnb is driving that message really hard. They're spending a lot of money on the host side of advertising to encourage people to list their spare bedroom specifically. If you've seen a lot of their recent ads, they're doing a lot in that space to drive more inventory. We've also seen record hotel construction over the last 3 to 5 years. Interest rates are at record lows, which is making money really cheap, and more hotels are coming out of the ground. I swear, we're in Charleston, South Carolina, as I've mentioned before, and every time I go downtown Charleston, it seems like another lot has been cleared and another hotel is going up. And for our Charlestonians on the webinar today, I'm sorry. Y'all have it extra bad in this marketplace because it was so good for so many years. We've attracted so many new hotels into this market, but that's creating a tremendous amount of competition for everybody. And it's driving prices down, and it's making it difficult for those long established successful hotels to compete with all this new inventory that's in the marketplace that is honestly outspending people from an advertising and marketing perspective in many cases, because they're coming into the market with nothing, building from scratch. They're hungrier, they're scrappier, and they're spending more, versus those of you that are established and you've gotten a little bit maybe fat and lazy, to use a term there, but a little bit fat and lazy and comfortable with what you have. And in a marketplace like this, where inventory is expanding, what we look at from an economic perspective is that supply is increasing, but demand is not keeping up with supply. And anytime supply starts to exceed demand, we see an environment where price starts going down. So you've got to look at that carefully and analyze your marketplace individually, because I don't know where you are sitting today. Love if you give us a call out in the chat panel on where you're tuning in from. Always love it when people share that in the chat panel and see some really cool destinations. Makes me want to go on vacation there and keep track of who I can call when I'm coming there. But so give us a shout out in the chat panel on where you're tuning in from today. But know your marketplace and what's going on. Are you seeing an increase in supply in your marketplace, or are you lucky and you're not? Are you seeing an increase in demand? And is that increase in demand keeping up with the increase in supply that you're seeing? And understand how that's going to affect things in the future. Because while there are some big indicators destination-wide that would say as a destination it might drive our price down, you only have a responsibility to fill your inventory. So whether that's a 5-room B&B or a 4,000 unit vacation rental company, and we know we've got everybody in between those spectrums tuning in today, but wherever you are on that journey, you only have to fill your inventory. So if supply is exceeding demand, you then have to focus on what you can control. You can't go burn down the hotels that are opening or the Airbnbs that are opening, or at least you shouldn't. Please don't do that. But I don't want to come bail anybody out of prison. But you do need to focus on what you can control. We have a saying at Q4, control what you can control. And that is, how much demand are we driving for our product? And when we're driving demand for our product, right? When we're driving demand for our hotel rooms or our in rooms or our vacation rental units, that's what we can control. And that's really marketing's job, is to drive demand for the product. You got to have the price right. You got to have a lot of other things right, but drive demand for the product by making your marketing the best it's ever been. And in an increasingly competitive marketplace, you have to do more marketing. You have to drive more demand to accomplish the same result. And that's not a popular message. That's not something I'm sure you're excited to hear today, but you're going to have to work harder in 2020 to accomplish the same results you accomplished in 2019, assuming that demand is not keeping up with supply in your marketplace. So again, not a popular message, probably not what you're pumped to hear, but you've got to know that going into 2020, because if you don't prepare for that, you'll find yourself with decreased revenue in 2020, and it's probably going to be a little too late at that point to try to reboot your marketing and get it there. So look around your marketplace. How competitive is it? What's happening? And do you have the right marketing strategy in place to drive enough demand to fill your inventory? And notice I pulled out some of that language about rooms and hotels and whatever else. We're driving demand for inventory. That's the economic principle. We're driving demand for our product. We can often get emotionally connected with our product. We want to remove that emotional connection and just focus on what it is. It's demand for product. That's it. Economic principles at their core helps us remove some of that emotionalness we have attached to our price, our product, our amenities, all those things. We want to remove the emotion out of this equation. There's some other things on the screen there, but that's really what we want you to capture. Is understanding you've got to lean into this more heavily in 2020 than you probably ever have before, because your destination will likely be more competitive than it has ever been in 2020. We know it probably already has been in 2019, so how do you prepare for that? All right, let's keep moving on. As we think about SEO, your website is the foundation of your SEO success. So as you're launching into marketing, a couple weeks ago, I taught you a whole session on websites and what that's going to look like in 2020. And one of the things I talked about there was your website is one of your most important investments, and you have to make sure that your website is staying up to date all the time, that it is proactively getting better. The days of building and launching websites every 3 to 5 years should be gone. I know many of you are still living in those days, but you need to leave that in the past. Your website needs to start working like software, where it's getting better and it's evolving proactively all the time. Reason being, it's that most important part. It's the foundation of your marketing success. Everything you do, email, social, SEO, paid advertising, all works to drive traffic back to your website. And your website's job is then to communicate the information that that person is looking for to get them to take whatever action it is you want them to take. Whether that's to make a booking, whether that's they're already staying at your property and you want them to book a spa appointment, whatever that is, you've got to drive that action through your website. And understanding that is critically important. I've shared this example before, but if you're trying to double revenue in 2020, which is a crazy aggressive goal, especially in the hospitality space, but say you were, just for simplicity's sake, you'd either have to double the amount of traffic to your website to double revenue. Theoretically, that would double revenue if all things were equal. Or you could double the performance of your website. You could take your website, which the average hospitality website, hotels, B&Bs, vacation rentals, converts at 0.4%. I've probably done over 500 Google Analytics analysis this year, totally for free for people in the industry. So I've got a lot of data to back up that 0.4% average conversion rate across the board. If you took that 0.4, and that's again, people coming to your website and making a booking on that visit, 4 out of every 1,000 will do that. If you double that from 4 to 8, you've just doubled your revenue. If you double it from 4 to 8, you've doubled your revenue without increasing traffic. So those are the two things you have. You can double your traffic or you can double your conversion rate. In reality, we're working on both of those things simultaneously because we're probably not going to double either of them. We want to make small incremental improvements in both. But that's what we're thinking about, and that's really where your website comes in, not only from a conversion perspective, but from an SEO perspective to set you up for success. There's a few things that we think success from a website looks like there on the screen, but I think the most important to really understand is making sure that you understand these things and that you're getting what you need. I think one of the most important, as I'm processing through that while talking here, is that support piece of it. And we put a lot of time and money into our support as a staff. And I think it's one of the things we see differentiates us in the marketplace. And honestly, it's one of the things we hear complaints about most often from people that are switching to us from competitors is the support that they're receiving from the person that they're with. Not just do they get it or not, but how expensive is it? How timely is it? There's so much that goes into great customer support. And it's so important because time is money. We talked about that in our last webinar on the speed of execution with Jeff Bezos and the things they talk about at Amazon, being a day one company. But that speed of execution, the speed of support, the speed at which business is moving is constantly accelerating, and you have to make sure every part of your business is keeping up with that. So is your website support keeping up with that? I hope so. And if it's not, please call us. We'd love to talk to you about it. If you're thinking about launching a new website in 2020, it will be a big part of what your success story can look like in 2020. We'd love to talk to you about it and at least give you a quick demo on what our future-proof platform looks like. The platform that works like software that gets better every day. Think about that. We'd love to talk to you about that. You can contact us via this webinar series, Bootcamp, or just go to our website and fill out the contact us form. All right, but understand how important that is, not just for SEO success, but for every marketing investment you're going to make in 2020. Your website is foundation to its success. Yet so many people still have bad, outdated technology running their websites. We're going to touch on this one. This is a very trending topic in SEO right now. Voice search is forecasted to grow to 50% of all search in 2020. And there's some things you need to think about there, with some things you need to understand, like it increases long-tail search. The way people search on voice is different than the way they search on desktop. We'll talk about that. Smart speakers are gaining market adoption, although I will promise you there won't be one in my house anytime soon. I don't need Google listening to what's going on in my house, not because there's anything controversial going on, but it just creeps me out. But I'm also not naive enough to think that they're not listening to my phone, which is in the room with me right now, and probably got me on their watch list because I'm spreading that message about them. But that's the reality of it. They're listening all the time. Whether or not that what they're doing with that information is a different story, but they're listening all the time. And I'm not trying to be all conspiracy theorists on it, but that's just the facts. And then voice shopping is still in its infancy. So we'll talk about that. But what we're seeing is voice shopping is growing, it's trending, but we're not seeing people book hotels or book vacation rentals or book B&Bs via voice search. The purchases that are happening via voice search are the really day-to-day easy things that you're buying the same thing over and over again, and there's no variability in that purchase. So you're not going to Amazon and say, hey, Amazon, I need a new blue sweater in the size medium. Right? I mean, do I want buttons on it? Do I want a pocket on it? There's a lot that goes into that blue sweater. And I swear my wife puts me in a blue sweater for every Christmas picture we have, which is this coming weekend. So I've got to think about my blue sweater for our Christmas picture this year. So that's top of mind for me. But they're not going to send me a new blue sweater because they don't know what I want it to look like. And they're sure not going to book me a vacation rental or a hotel room because there's so much variability in that decision. But if at the same time I'm in the kitchen and I say, hey, Amazon, I need more sugar, that's easy, right? I mean, I buy the same brand of sugar. There's no variability to it. It's this brand of sugar. It's whatever. Maybe there's some size variability there, but it's really a simple thing. That's where voice search is growing. That's where it's going to get its market adoption. Those simple, almost commodities that we buy every day. I need more laundry detergent. I need more of this, or book me an appointment at so-and-so. Like those things that are very easy to book very easy to buy is where voice search is, where voice transactions are happening. It's going to take some time for that to really get into our space. I think it will come as the AI and the voice assistants get smarter and smarter. I think it will come, but it's going to take more time. And as part of that, I think we also have to put this in context and understand that this data that voice search is growing to 50% of all searches is mass level, like high level data. It's not necessarily that voice search in our market is growing to 50%. It's really that voice search everywhere is growing to 50%. We think adoption in our market will probably take longer. We know it's going to take longer just because of the complexity of it. So what's more likely to happen, what we're going to see in our marketplace, so to bring this personal to us in the travel space, what we're going to see in our market is people searching for things by voice, more about things to do when they're actually in the market. And as part of that, we have evolved our content strategy quite a bit at Q4 to prepare for this. Our content manager actually started leading into this about 2 years ago, seeing this trend coming, and where we used to develop a keyword, a written keyword, and we targeted that keyword within our content based off how we would write it. We've transitioned our process. Now we have a written keyword, how we would write it, but we also have a voice keyword. How would we speak that? How would someone search that by voice? Because searching the same thing written or on desktop on my keyboard is very different than how I would search that same thing by voice. And we've started incorporating both of those phrases, both of those variations of the same keyword into our content strategy to prepare for this growing trend. One of the other things we see is that Google serves up featured snippets as voice search results, and they read those featured snippets out loud more than other things. So we're going to have a slide in a minute. We're going to touch real briefly on featured snippets and what you need to do there. But understand the adoption and change occurs differently in different industries at different paces. And I think we're going to see this occur slower in our space than others, but we do need to start preparing for it. And that's how you prepare for it is an important part of that conversation. And I think the way to prepare for that now is just by starting thinking about your content differently. We started doing that 2 years ago at Q4Launch, but start thinking about the content you're creating differently to be able to make sure your content lines up to how do people search, how do they write it, and practice that with your team. Like, hey, we want to target this keyword. How would you write that out? And just have people search it. Watch how they behave. And then how would you voice search that? Ask somebody on your team sometime. Don't even tell them what you're doing, but just say, hey, Joe, would you mind searching this for me? Or hey, Susan, would you mind searching this for me on your mobile phone? Like, give them those criteria and see what they say. See how they search that using voice search, and you'll start to see kind of a very simple, unscientific example of how people search differently using desktop or keyboards versus how they search using voice search. So hopefully that's helpful for you. I don't think it's anything we need to freak out about in 2020, but we do need to start transitioning our content strategy to be ready for it. Here's a quick slide on how to optimize feature snippets. We're not going to go deep on it for sake of time today, but there's an article here from Moz. If you actually just Google how to optimize for Google's featured snippets, that Moz article does a much better job than I could explaining it to you. So read that article and start using that strategy within your content strategy, and it will help you prepare for that part of voice search. Google's also ranking more and more featured snippets on text or keyboard-based search. So you've got to prepare for it there too. So you're kind of filling both those needs by preparing with featured snippets here. The challenge with featured snippets is a lot of times people will get the information they need and not even leave the Google search page. I believe there's a stat that says less than half of Google searches ever leave the Google search results page. And Google search results is trying to get people to stay on the page. So the percentage of people doing a search and then clicking on a link on the search results is declining as well, which is reducing the amount of available traffic for all of us. So there's a lot of shift happening here, but you at least want to be in that conversation by having that featured snippet spot. So hopefully that will help you as you're working your content more towards featured snippets in 2020. All right, another key tip for 2020, optimized landing pages drive highly targeted long tail traffic. So as you think about this is especially important in the vacation rental space. But a shift we saw from Google probably 2 years ago at this point, time has flown with little kids in the house, but I think it was about 2 years ago, they started ranking interior landing pages more and more, meaning that Google was ranking people's homepage less and less. Used to be your homepage was really where you targeted every keyword, and people would stuff hundreds of keywords into their homepage, and that's what would rank for everything. We've seen a transition more so significantly in the last 2 years, Google ranking home pages for less and less keywords and ranking interior pages for more and more, which is essentially trying to get people where they're going faster and reduce the number of clicks that they have to make. So good intention. One of the challenges we see with this is people are still thinking that everything's flowing through their homepage, which means a couple things. One, they're not building targeted, long-tail, keyword-oriented landing pages, which I know is a lot of buzzwords packed into one sentence, but landing pages targeted at those keywords. The other thing it means that they're doing is they think everyone has seen everything on their homepage, when in reality they haven't. So you have to look at those top landing pages. That's one of my action items for you. Go into Google Analytics, look at your top 10 landing pages. If you don't know how to do that, register for our December 17th webinar. We'll teach you how to do that. It's so important. But look at those top 10 landing pages on your website and think about the fact that someone is entering your website there and it's likely their first experience with your business. They know nothing about you. They've entered your website there. And if that's their experience, if they're entering your website there, is that landing page doing a good job of communicating who you are, what you're all about, and how to buy whatever it is you're trying to sell on that landing page and guide them into that buyer's journey? Chances are a lot of those top 10 landing pages are not doing a good job of that, and you need to go back to the table and rethink those landing pages. So really important takeaway for you here to build more landing pages and understand your top 10 landing pages and look through the content to say, if this is someone's first experience with my business, is it doing a good job? And what elements of my story do I need to bring into this? We talked about being a great storyteller a little bit last time and telling your story that is unique to you. You got to bring that into these landing pages and make sure that you make it really easy for people to get where they're trying to go and guide them down that road that they're on. So really important part of what we're talking about here and a very actionable part of what we're talking about here. So make sure you spend time on this preparing for 2020 and go into your Google Analytics, find those top 10 landing pages and optimize them as landing pages. The other thing we talked about is that reviews matter, specifically 5-star reviews matter. And we believe, and all indicators point to the fact that reviews will matter more in 2020 than they ever have before. And if you think about it, SEO or Google is trying to serve up the best result for whatever the query is for their consumer. One of the challenges we have is we're in a transactional business, right? We're trying to sell a product to a consumer. So Google isn't just trying to figure out what's the best result, but if they're looking for bed and breakfast in Charleston, South Carolina, or hotels in Charleston, South Carolina, or vacation rentals in Charleston, they're really trying to serve up who's the best business to fill this need. Not just what's the best website, but who's the best business to fill this need. And if you think about how would Google go about figuring out who the best business is to serve this need, it goes well beyond how well your website's set up and structured, how good your content is. I really want to know who's great at running a hotel in Charleston. And where could I get information on who's great at running a hotel in Charleston, but from this massive group of Google users that are out there with mobile phones all the time having experiences with businesses. And if you use Android as an operating system, or you may see it on your iOS device as well, over the last 2 years, Google has been sending out a ton of push notifications based off your GPS location. Hey, are you at this business? Rate your stay. 3 days later, hey, did you take any pictures? Post those pictures. Like, they're doing all of this to drive content into Google My Business and drive reviews within Google My Business because that is important. And I think it's way more important to them what their customers think about a business than it is how well their website's set up or how great their content is. What's more important, what my customers think about a business if I'm Google, or how good of a web developer do they have? Really, it's what customers think is way more important and a better indicator of the quality of that business. And what they're doing is spending a ton of time, money, driving reviews to get that information about businesses. So I think 5-star reviews are going to be more important than they've ever been. Years ago, we built an email marketing tool to solicit reviews from customers that had great experiences with our properties. About 2 years ago, we saw that the response rate on those emails starting to decline. So we rebuilt that as a web app that sends text messages. I'm not going to talk a lot about it today, but if getting more 5-star reviews is a priority for you, you need to go to Q4Launch.com/5-star and check out our 5-star texting app to help you get more reviews. There's a little bit of screenshots on that interface. Not only will it help you get more 5-star reviews, but ideally it will help you eliminate some of the negative reviews and get that feedback coming back to you so you can make improvements on those things or correct that with the guest, whatever happened that led them to leave less than a 5-star review. You can correct those things before they post them publicly. So check out Q4Launch.com/5, the numeral 5, star, and you'll find some more information about that there. But you've got to figure out a strategy to get more 5-star reviews in 2020. As you're putting your plan together, that needs to be one of your key performance indicators in 2020 that you share with your team. And I say share it with your team because the most common denominator of 5-star reviews we see is that a staff member is mentioned by name. The most common denominator for 5-star reviews is a staff member is mentioned by name, which means there's an opportunity to create incentives for your staff, help drive the importance of that personal experience that they have. And there's some cool stories out there about companies that have done this in really neat ways you can find by Googling information about that. But drive the 5-star reviews in 2020 and you will see success. I think it will also help you with success across all of your marketing strategy, because as people find your website, even via other channels, they're going to go to your Google page and they're going to check it out to figure out, is this a company I want to do business with or not? And what they find there will impact how likely they are to make a booking with you. So I think increasing your 5-star reviews will actually drive your website's conversion rate higher, even though it has nothing to do with your website. If you think about that user behavior, I think you'll agree with me, it would drive that higher. All right, moving on here. One of the other things I just talked about was Google My Business. Google has changed a lot about Google My Business. It used to be at Q4, like we would kind of set up a Google My Business page at the beginning, but it really wasn't a huge part of our SEO, wasn't a big concern, not something we focused on a lot. That is shifting, and we're leaning into that more because Google has changed a lot with Google My Business. And anytime we see major change in one of their products, we know it's under a microscope. It's important to them at that time, so we're leaning into it more and more. And if you haven't updated your Google My Business page within the last few months, there's probably things that are out of date on it, only because Google has added a ton of new features and functionality. So we taught a whole webinar about that a few months back. I believe that's on our YouTube channel. So you can go to youtube.com/Q4Launch to find that. So check that out. But here's kind of a brief synopsis of it. One, make sure you've claimed and verified your business listing. Should go without saying, but we still see a lot of people haven't. Two, fill in complete and accurate business information. Make sure at the very least you include your name, address, and phone number, referred to as NAP, and that's consistent across everywhere it appears on the web. And then enhance your listing with special features, using posts, using Q&A, and check back frequently. This is not a set it and forget it thing anymore like it used to be, where it really didn't change all that often. There are a lot of features I think that were actually intended probably originally for Google+, the social network that doesn't exist really anymore, are now kind of surfacing themselves in Google My Business to find that content in different ways. Make sure you're responding to your reviews and answering questions and adding new photos and videos if you have them as well. All of that will help make your Google My Business profile more complete and help drive your SEO success across the board. All right, we talked about popularity and our prom king example. Probably just brought that up because I was not homecoming king, I was not prom king, I wasn't even close to cool in high school, middle school. I actually was cool for a short period of time in elementary school where I punched another kid in the face and got in-school suspension. All of a sudden I was a cool kid in school. Fun story for a different day. But we're going to talk about entity authority today. Not sure why that story came out, but it's a fun story for a different day. If you see me at a conference, come ask me that story. It has a lot of cool, deep meaning that we're not going to talk about. But entity authority will become a key factor. So how popular are you across the web? Entity authority is really that popularity index across the web, not just in Google search, but how popular are you in social networks? One of the things we talk a lot about at Q4Launch is the power of integrated marketing and understanding that everything you do in different areas comes together to impact that. And that you can't just do SEO as an isolated thing. Your email marketing and the success or failure of that impacts your SEO, because guess what? Gmail is the most widely used email system in the world. So imagine we're trying to find data on how good a business is. I can see the way that my users as Google are interacting with this company's emails. They're factoring that data into SEO. They can also see everything that's on social media. So they're factoring that in. How often are your posts getting liked, shared, commented? All of that's coming together to create entity authority, which is a growing part of your SEO factor. So your social media presence is more important than you think it is because of how it ties into your SEO. Your email marketing performance is more important than you think it is because it ties into your SEO and how likely Google is, one, to put up your emails in someone's inbox for sending them to a promotions folder, different topic, but it all contributes into your entity authority. So how popular are you? Are you creating content and campaigns that get mentioned and get attention, right? That's what we're after. So when I was talking to somebody the other day, they were talking about, well, we're really good at getting likes and comments on our posts, but we never really get traffic back to our site because we don't want to do that kind of content. And I was like, well, your strategy is wrong there. Like, you're close, you're not far off, but what we want to do is create content that gets attention, that gets likes, gets comments, all those kind of things. So boosting our presence that way, boosting our entity authority that way, but then specifically within social media, so a little social tip here, then follow that up with a post that drives traffic back to your website. So it's not one or the other, it's that you do a great job, that 80% of your content is focused around getting likes and shares and stuff people want. We used to use the term a lot, rainbows, puppies, and babies, like that kind of content, right? People love rainbows, puppies, and babies. They love to comment and like and share those photos. That style content, that category of content, and then follow that up with a selling post. You know, hey, we've got this last minute cancellation. Hey, we've got availability here. Hey, we're running this special on these beachfront homes or whatever. Like, those kind of posts will then drive traffic and bookings back to your site. And we're not really looking to see a lot of bookings from this source. We don't really see it, but we're trying to grow our entity authority. We're trying to grow people engaging with us. And when people go from our website, because they discover us there, to our social media to check us out, just like they're checking out our 5-star reviews, they're checking out our social presence, do they like what they see? Do we look like a company that they want to do business with or not? That's going to impact that conversion journey that consumer's on. Do I buy from you or not? Do I trust you or not? It's going to impact that journey. So are your customers engaging with you, and how do you drive that? As you're brainstorming with your team about how do we have greater success in 2020, this needs to be part of the conversation. How do we drive entity authority? How do we get more people to engage with us online? And looking at those metrics to be able to determine that. And then once you've built some of that, using social to be able to drive traffic back to your site as well can be very effective. Increasingly less effective, of course, because like Google, social media is becoming more of a pay-to-play platform. Everything is, but still an important part of our strategy. Moving right along, we're going to touch on Google Ads. We don't waste any time on our marketing boot camps. We move pretty quick, but let's talk about Google Ads. I'm not going to go super deep here because, again, December 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have a boot camp dedicated to this subject. It's going to get super geeky, but it's going to be awesome. You need to be there. If you're doing Google Ads, I'd love for you to put a comment in the chat panel. Yes, I'm doing them. We'd love to get a feel for about how much of our audience is doing them. So use the chat panel right now. Yes, I'm doing Google Ads. No, I'm not. Or yes, I'm thinking about it for 2020. Drop that in the chat panel for us. Love to get a beat on how our audience is doing today, or how many people are using them. But typically what we see, awesome, love those comments coming into the chat panel. A few success stories there, a few failure stories as well. I'm laughing only because I know how true that is, and we'll touch on that. But we think Google Ads is going to be a more important part of 2020 than it was 2019. Google is moving a ton of things away from organic search to paid search, so much so that there's a lawsuit about it, specifically in the bed and breakfast world. So you can find more information about that. There was a hearing a couple weeks ago. We'll be sharing more information about that as well, on how you can get involved if you want to get involved in that. Whether you should get involved or not, totally your decision, but something to think about as they're becoming more of a pay-to-play platform. Really important thing to think about. So I'm going to touch on this real quick. We're going to dive deep into it December 3rd, so check in with us for that. What we love about pay-per-click, our customers see an average of 10 to 20x return on ad spend. So typically we see 5 to 10x return on ad spend inside of e-commerce, tracking that we can actually see and correlate to it. But then we know typical customer gets about half their bookings by phone. So we double that to factor in the phone booking. So that's how we get to that number, 5 to 10x. We see it in Google Analytics, and then factor in your phone bookings to get your total estimated return on ad spend. So I love that, right? I also love we can fluctuate budgets based on booking windows and available inventory, or pace reports. Even better way to be able to do that. So we're doing a lot with fluctuating budgets in 2020, having conversations with our larger pay-per-click customers about how to fluctuate their budget effectively, so it's not the same all time of year. Very important part of a good strategy, and I think going to be more important in 2020. But you could also, and you should be, adjusting your budget based off what your pace reports say. So if you're ahead of pace, you could choose to scale your budget back and spend less. If you're behind pace, aka you need to drive more demand for your product, back to our supply and demand graphic we looked at a few minutes ago, you can lean in, you can spend more. And it's one of the few mediums, email marketing is another, social is another, although social doesn't drive a ton of bookings, but it's another, where we can see almost immediate results if we have a great strategy. If you're not up and running with it, it really takes about 30 days to get good, consistent performance out of it. But if we have campaigns up and running, we can increase budget and see immediate results from that. So love that about it. The number one thing I hate about pay-per-click is that a stat from WordStream, a software company that deals with this space, is that 70% of all Google Ads budget they see managed on their platform, that budget is wasted. And we take over a lot of failing Google ad campaigns for people that are with other companies, and we see that statistic to play out to be pretty true, and in some cases even higher percentages of budgets are wasted. So that's painful for me. Google Ads is I believe the last stats are that about $100 billion is spent on Google Ads. Fact check that, because it's from my memory, so it might not be right, but about $100 billion spent on Google Ads every year. And to think about that, 70% of that is wasted is a shocking statistic, but it's a true statistic. And if you are not sure where you are with that, if you can't either answer the question, what's my return on ad spend, or how much of my budget am I wasting? And you're never going to get to a place you're wasting zero of it, right? That's not attainable. So I'm not saying you should be getting there, but 70% is way too high. So you've got to really lean into that. And as it becomes more important, we're investing a lot into that as a company. We've made huge improvements in our Google Ads strategy and the team that manages that here at Q4Launch in the last year. And we're driving tremendous results from our customers. So I would encourage you, reach out to us. If you're spending money on Google Ads and you're not sure how strong your return on ad spend is, or you don't feel like it's as strong as it should be, or you're thinking about it in 2020, talk to us. Reach out via our website, contact us, email me, we'll put you in touch with our team. We should have a conversation about this, because I'd hate for you to fall into that category who's wasting 70% of their budget. In about 15 minutes together on the phone, we can probably tell you a rough percentage, pretty close, but rough percentage on how much of your budget's wasted and whether or not you need to take action on that or not, or if you're in a great place. And we'll tell you that too. Like, hey, you're in a great place. I told them that the other day. They'd asked me to look at it. I was at a conference and they asked me to see, can you take a quick peek? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a quick peek. I looked, I was like, man, your company's doing a great job. Like, these are the results we would expect to see. And we publish, I just told you the results we expect to see. So it's not hidden. There's no secret about the expectations we have of ourselves. And they were doing a great job. And I was excited to be able to tell them, yeah, the company you're managing this is doing a great job for you. Unfortunately, that's most of the time not the case. So just reach out, have a 15-minute conversation with us, and then you'll know in 2020, are you in a good place or do you need to make a change? The other thing I don't like about Google Ads is it's getting increasingly competitive and expensive. So while organic traffic is generally kind of declining because of all the changes Google's making to their platform, more and more people are having to lean into Google Ads. That's driving competition higher. At the same time, there's less clicks available because Google's sending more and more of that to their own OTA, Google Travel. So there's a really tough spot back to supply and demand. Supply is decreasing within Google Ads, demand is increasing, and we are having to overhaul a lot of our bidding strategy to keep our cost per click where we want it to be. Generally speaking, we would target a cost per click of between 50 cents and $1. And if you're not hitting those metrics, again, that's something we should talk about. There are, of course, markets where they're more competitive and you can't hit those metrics, but generally that's what we want to hit. So look at your own data, see if you're hitting that metric, but lean into this, understand it, because it's going to get increasingly competitive and expensive to generate the same result in 2020. So you're going to spend more on Google Ads. You're going to probably see a lower return on ad spend if you don't shift your strategy in 2020. So shift your strategy as part of that to make sure that 2020 is successful for you. All right, the constant here is change, and you have to have a game plan to monitor and respond proactively. One thing we know to be true is that things are changing faster than they have ever changed. And if you're not actively monitoring your search engine presence, you're putting yourself at huge risk to lose or see drops in where you're getting half of your direct bookings coming from. And with the changes in Google hotel search results and the fact that that's been rolled out in the vacation rental space, we're seeing less and less traffic coming in organically. I've talked to a ton of vacation rental managers this summer that over the summer, when the Google vacation rental search results, which actually is called hotel search result design, they put vacation rentals in there as part of it. When that rolled out, essentially, if you were 3 years ago, you were probably in the #1 position organically, or maybe you were in the #1 position organically. Say 3 years, like fast forward to today, if you're still in the #1 position, you're actually in the 9th position. The #1 organic position is most often the 9th thing on the page. So that in and of itself, over the course of 3 years, has driven a huge decrease in organic traffic. And in the vacation rental space, most recently over the course of the spring and summer, sliding out the Google My Business and the map there, replacing that with a map that has vacation rentals plotted on it, further pushed companies down. Because it used to be there were 4 companies featured there on that map. Now there's no companies featured, it's just vacation rentals on a map. So that further pushes those 4 people down or off that page completely. And if you were featured there, you've probably seen a decrease in traffic from that. And your strategy needs to evolve as a result of that. And that's what we're working on. You need to be engaged in this. You can't afford to turn a blind eye to something that's responsible for 50% of your direct bookings. And you need to be confident in the people you're partnered with to do this. So if we can help you in this at all, please reach out to us. Our contact information is on the screen there. You probably all have our contact information, but reach out to us. Let us know how we can help. Definitely tune in to the rest of our marketing boot camps. But if you need help with this, or if you just have questions you want answered, our team is available to help. One of the things we really want to do is get back to the space with what we're learning and be available for help. So if you reach out to us, we will respond promptly, answer any questions that we can. And if you need help with this from a marketing perspective, or you just want to check, is it going well or not, let us know. We'd be happy to help you unpack that and understand that, and get you the information you need to make whatever decision you want to make, whether that's to keep on the track you're on, which is great. If we can affirm that for you, that's awesome, or know that you need to make a shift in 2020. But don't sit idly by and do nothing. That's the worst thing you can do, is to just sit idly by, take the ostrich strategy and put your head in the sand and ignore what's going on in the marketplace. Change is happening. You got to change with it and know that you're in a good place. So get in touch with us. If you have questions and answers, hopefully you've been pinging them in the chat panel throughout our time together. But if you have questions, please drop those in the chat panel, and our staff will be happy to respond to those and get answers to your questions as well. We know we get a lot of questions, but our team's actively monitoring that, and they will respond to your questions. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving to you, your team, your staff, your family. I hope you guys find some time this Thanksgiving to slow down and really focus on the things that you're grateful for in life. I think you'll come out of it on Monday on the other side with a just better outlook on how everything's going. Despite the change, you'll have a better outlook on how things are going, and you'll get an increased sense of happiness in your life and your family and your friendships and in your business as well. So happy Thanksgiving to you guys. We are thankful for you from the Q4Launch team to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We hope this has been a blessing for you, and thank you to our customers who are on as well. We are very grateful for the trust you put in us by trusting your marketing to us, your website, your businesses to us. And it's not something we take lightly. We talk a lot about that as a team, how grateful we are for the trust you put in us. So thank you for that. If there's anything I can do to help, my personal contact information is there on the screen. You can also reach out to us via our website. Be happy to help any way we can. Thanks guys, and we'll see you December 3rd as we dive into Google Ads and how to make sure you're maximizing your return on ad spend in 2020. Have a great day.